Hi, my name is Allie and I am an alpha gal. Basically, I got diagnosed with alpha gal syndrome about a month or so ago, and I'm making this video log to share my experience and maybe inform some people, maybe let you know what to expect. My condition is not severe, luckily. Everybody's different, everybody reacts differently, and so I'm hoping that by making this video, if you have questions, this will at least point you in the right direction. I encourage you to do your own research and stay positive. It's not the end of the world not to be able to eat red meat. I mean, there's actually some health benefits to that, but to not have to be really careful is a bonus, and to not miss out on an occasional piece of bacon if that's what you like, or some beef brisket. So I'm going to tell you about how I contracted it, how I think I contracted it, and what I'm doing to manage it, and my experiments. On July 14th, 2019, I was leading a group of hikers on a wildlife management area nearby. I'm in Crawfordville, Florida, close to Tallahassee, Florida. And during this hike, we encountered thousands of seed ticks, which are a nymph stage of a tick. They pack no less of a punch than a regular tick, because they're actually worse because they go undetected sometimes for long periods of time. They're very small, and so they have just as much opportunity to pass disease along to you or other pathogens. The day of the hike, I tucked my socks into my pants into my socks, my shirt into my pants, and I sprayed DEET all over my clothing. And then I sprayed kind of a more natural bug spray on my arms and my neck. I pulled my hair up, and then I had a hat on. I didn't have much of an issue with seed ticks as some of my other hiking friends did. And to my knowledge, none of them have had the issue that I have with alpha gal. So somehow a couple of ticks also made it to my scalp, larger adult ticks that were, probably a couple of days went by before I detected them and removed them. And instead of coming home and taking a shower right away, I went swimming at my neighbor's house. And then I took a shower. I should have showered and washed up, scrubbed with soapy water, hot water, before I went, and I did not. So my hike took place on July 14th of 2019. On July 26th, I had a BLT for lunch. I had not experienced any symptoms between the day of my hike and this BLT, and I have never experienced an allergic reaction, to my knowledge, to meat or any other food. So I had a BLT with mayo for lunch, and I started getting a stomachache within a half hour. I went home from work that afternoon, and I just laid down. I might have taken a couple of Tums. It took a while to go away. It subsided by the time I went to sleep that night, and the next day I was fine. Tuesday, July 30th, I met a friend for Mexican food at a local restaurant, and I ordered a beef chimichanga. I ate half of the chimichanga and started to run errands, and within about a half hour I started getting a really bad stomachache. So after eating this chimichanga, I started feeling sick. It was the only symptom I had. I took a couple of Tums. The pain didn't go away, and I ended up going to bed early that night. I had no other symptoms, and the next morning I was fine. On August 4th, I met a friend for brunch. It was on a Sunday. I did not experience any symptoms in between that Tuesday with my friend and my brunch. Don't remember what I ate, but obviously I didn't eat anything that bothered me. So at brunch, I had one piece of bacon. I had two small pieces of roast beef, thinly sliced, and other non-meat items. Within 30 to 40 minutes, I started getting that pain in my stomach again. It just felt debilitating. I didn't feel like doing anything. I was supposed to help a friend move some furniture. I came home early afternoon. It was probably about 12:30, and I laid down. 2 hours later, my hands and feet started itching, and the bottoms of my feet turned bright red, and the inside of my ears started itching. Took some Tums. The stomach ache did not go away with that. Only time took the stomach ache away, and I laid down, rested most of the day. Later on that evening, I was feeling a little hungry, so I made myself some warm chicken bone broth, which has really good healing properties, and I had a piece of toast with a little butter on it, and I still had the stomach ache, but I didn't have any other symptoms, and so I went to bed, and I was fine the next morning. A week later, August 11th, my mother was visiting, and I made her favorite dish, which is called picadillo, and it's made with ground beef, and I served it over rice. As soon as I ate it, almost immediately, no more than 15 minutes later, I started getting that stomach ache again. Didn't even feel like sitting down to play cards with my mom. So I told her I had to go lay down, and it was probably around 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and midnight I got up to use the bathroom, and my tongue was swollen. Yeah, had never experienced that before, and I was a little concerned, so I woke her up and asked her with a lisp if she thought that was a problem. I could hardly talk properly, and so she insisted on taking me to the ER. So I started doing some research and discovered that a swollen tongue is less common than a swollen throat with allergic reactions, and that it is almost always associated with an allergic reaction. So I let her drive me to the ER, and by the time I got there, my hands had started itching again, and I had some bumps on the outsides of my arms, and later I discovered on the outsides of my legs. At the hospital, they administered a lidocaine mixture with a milky substance. I want to say it was something like milk of magnesia or whatever the hospitals use to settle your stomach. And so I drank some of that, and it didn't help the stomach ache. I still had that. Then they took me for an ultrasound to see if I had gallstones, and luckily I did not. Once the doctor saw that I had bumps on my arms, he said that he could confirm it was an allergic reaction to something, and I was referred to an allergist to get tested. And they did a histamine test on me, which I did not react to. I had not taken any antihistamines, so they did not test me for meat allergies. But they did send me for blood work. I went and got tested on August 22nd for alpha-gal and celiac, and the alpha-gal came back positive. The normal level was less than 0.1, and my level was 31.2. And according to some research studies, the blood level may not matter when it comes to what type of reaction you're going to have. And you may be allergic to one type of red meat and not the other. You may have an allergic reaction to pork and not lamb, or beef and not lamb, or lamb and not pork. So it just depends on the individual. So my allergist, when they called to give me the news, said that there is no cure, and that's it. End of story. Don't eat hoofed mammal. It was pretty disturbing. I'm selfish. I like to have a piece of bacon or 3 once in a while, and some beef brisket and prosciutto. I really like prosciutto. And so I asked if there was a cure. No cure. Okay. So I've been managing it, but I also got really paranoid, and I started asking places I would eat, hey, can you not cook my eggs where you're cooking bacon? And trying to be really careful. And I came very close to eating a dip that was made with bacon, and my friend asked for me if it had any meat, luckily, and it did. So things that you least expect will have meat, and even gelatin can cause an allergic reaction Sometimes caplets may not be enough if you have like a supplement that's covered in gelatin. Sometimes that's not enough to make somebody react. And sometimes they'll use vegetable-based kind of a glycerin or vegetable-based product to coat those tablets, so you don't have to worry so much. And I've also been told by an allergist that you may not have to worry about cross-contamination so much as you would with other allergies like seafood or peanuts. So I went to visit another allergist, and I had blood work done again to see if my levels had changed. It's been about a month, and I am not looking for huge results, but I was just curious if they had improved or not. They did test me on the skin, and this time I reacted to a histamine, and I reacted to beef, pork, and lamb. Not as much as I reacted to the histamine. That level was kind of low. The welt that appeared was not really big, and the welts for the 3 meats that they applied, the extract, those were pretty minimal, but it did show up. So that confirmed I do have the meat allergy. And I did some research, and there is a medical journal published that has a clinical study on 2 adults from Turkey, and this was done by the Istanbul University, of desensitization to alpha-gal. And so I decided to undertake this experiment at home. In these 2 clinical studies, there was a 21-year-old female whose alpha-gal levels were 1.5, which seems pretty low. However, she would experience anaphylaxis when ingesting beef. The other adult in the study is a 55-year-old male, and his alpha-gal levels were 84. But he did not experience anaphylaxis. He experienced hives and swelling, urticaria, and angioedema. And in these studies, they were exposed to very, very small amounts of beef extract. And over time, those amounts were increased. When they would experience a reaction, they would back the dose off by half. And after several doses, and whether it was a few days or a few weeks, they were ultimately cured of their allergic reaction. And so today I begin my experiment of desensitization with a small concentrate of beef broth. I am starting with a very small dose of 1 milliliter of a mixture that contains 10 ounces of water, or 300 milliliters, and 1 teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon organic beef bouillon paste. And in 1 teaspoon there is 1 gram of protein, or 1,000 milligrams. So the mixture comes out to 3.3 milligrams per milliliter. Before I ingested the beef broth, I did have breakfast of 2 fried eggs, a piece of toast with butter and cinnamon sugar, and a cup of coffee with honey and soy creamer, as well as a banana. So I'm going to take this milliliter dropper, and I'm going to fill it to where it says 1 milliliter. Okay, so I have 300 milliliters of water in my cup, and that's 10 ounces. And I have a 3.3 milligram per milliliter mixture in this syringe, because the serving size is 1 teaspoon. There's 1 gram of protein in 1 teaspoon, which equates to 1,000 milligrams. Okay, so the time is now at 5:37, and I have not experienced any reactions to the small dose of beef broth that I ingested earlier today, which was about 12:26 p.m. approximately. I will be taking another dose shortly, because I want to allow enough time before I go to bed. If I'm going to have a reaction, I want something to show up early.